Everybody cuddle up in the middle. All the people up there, get in the middle. There's nobody up there. All right. Okay, I was scheduled to give a 6-minute at Yukichu, and it's 3:36, so we're just going to skip it. No, I'm joking. But I'm not going to be able to get through this deck. So if you follow me on Twitter, I'll post a link right after this talk to the deck. But let me first explain to you why this is important. I have a series called Make a Difference Tomorrow. It enables people that work in product design to go back and make changes the very next day. Simple, cost-effective changes that demonstrate an increase to the bottom line. I started when some of you were probably in kindergarten as the founding designer of a company called Monster Commerce. I was one of 3 people that started the company. There was Amazon and Yahoo Shopping, pretty much was our competition, so it was pretty easy to get customers. We got a lot of customers fast. I was building like 6 stores a day at one point by myself. This is pre-CSS, by the way. It was all built in tables. So that's why the first slide has me passed out drunk. I learned 3 very important things. It takes a lot more to coffee than to get through perpetual 100-hour weeks. Branding is critical. And forms are where the rubber meets the road. If they do not complete a form or a checkout process, you're just built something useless. So after Monster Commerce sold the network solutions for some bizarre amount of money, 50 million or something, I dedicated the next 10 years of my life to branding and conversion. And so this deck is going to show you some very simple things you can do to get people to convert, and oh, by the way, they're the right thing to do. The reason why I say that, let me go to this first. So while most companies, the marketing departments concentrate on the top of that funnel, on ever increasing the top of that funnel, I kind of dedicated my entire career to widening the bottom of the funnel. It's far more effective, it's less expensive, you retain more people, and you don't have to try to get people to come back a second time after they've had a bad experience. A few years back, I was the first UX speaker at the World Accessibility Conference in Stockholm, Sweden, called Funka Nu. They'd never had a UX speaker there. Everything was about making things accessible, not making them awesome. So they asked me to come and talk about UX, and I kind of went there as what I considered to be a local accessibility expert. And when I got there, I found out I didn't know a fucking thing. I mean, this much. It was embarrassing how much I did not know. I got up on stage. They had Swedish transcript next to me over here, English, my transcript on this side, 3 sign language people, and then in the audience were people that had on headphones and they were listening to me in Russian, Chinese, Arabic. It was crazy. But what I found out there is accessibility isn't everything that we think it is. Sometimes it's just low vision or distracted vision. Sometimes it's missing an arm or holding a baby. Sometimes it's just worried about your coffee being too hot and missing some key thing. So these are all the things that accessibility covers. If your product is not accessible to everyone, then it's called some user experience, which sucks. That list that I just showed you covers about 26%, between 20 and 26% of your customers, depending on what industry you're in. So leaving them out is really bad. So back in like early 2000s, I created this UX chart. Back then we were trying to explain to people what UX was. We still are. But I kind of created this chart, and it starts with useful, valuable, likable, lovable, and awesome. And when I got back from the conference, I had to change the entire foundation of that chart to, is it accessible? It really kind of flipped the script in my mind. Here's some great things that I found throughout my journey in accessibility is when you got a page, it says, hey, if you want this, click here. If you want that, click here. If you want this, click here. All a screen reader sees is click here, click here, click here. There's no context. So there's really a lot of value in trying to learn all you can about accessibility. What's really important about forms is that participation, retention, conversion. It's all about the form. If they don't fill it out or they bail on it, you're not going to have those things. So the next bunch of slides are some just really easy things you can do for accessibility, but also helps you convert in forms. And part of it is making sure that you have a label and don't rely on placeholders. Make sure that you have a help indicator at the bottom of the field. I'm going to go through these very quickly. Use padding instead of margins to create larger tappable areas. Margins are not tappable, padding is. You can show passwords and give them a hide password button. Makes it a lot easier for people. I don't know about y'all, but I get sick and tired of trying to guess what those little dots are. I got fat German fingers and it's not helpful. Help files on the bottom, it's even far better to give them a progress indicator, letting them know what they're doing right and how many more steps they need to take to get there. Input masks. Input masks are my favorite thing, by far. Let's talk conversion in forms. HTML attributes. If you're on mobile and they ask for your zip code and it goes to this standard keyboard over here, doesn't it just grind your teeth? You're like, you're asking me for 6 digits or 5 digits and you're giving me letters. This is unbelievable. But you can take it farther than that. So you can add attributes to keyboards. There's software out there that does that, but you can also do that within your forms. You can just stack a floating form above or below. It's on Apple, it has to be above. But you can give people other options if you're asking them for an email address. I always like the pre-fill ones too. I start typing Chris at, it just starts giving me Gmail, Yahoo. Let's get to it. Let's fill this thing out. And then finally, a couple things. Autofill, type ahead. It's my favorite. You can't screw up your address. And then have a design system for your colors and your placements and your verbiage of your buttons. You can create your own. I use one that works very well for me, and it's basically, let me just skip to it. Yeah. So it's basically, I use blue buttons. If it's the final step, send message, submit form. I use green buttons if it's going to take you on to another step or you're going to have another task afterwards. And I use gray buttons for the other stuff, cancel, upload file, browse. And then I just use a hyperlink for the forget password or send me a link or any of those types of things. And then it's the placement too. So I try to put the cancel over here and the next at the far right. And then if there's not a next, but it takes precedent over the final operation, which is save. Lots of cool things we learned about these techniques, but none cooler than when talking about how you talk and how you label your buttons. We've already seen some presentations about, do you want to cancel your subscription? No, cancel. Yeah, no, wait, I just canceling my subscription. That kind of thing happens all the time, but not only that, but no, yes, that's kind of bad, but it's not really telling me. If I blur out what it says inside the box, I should still know what the button does. Here's another one, delete this song, cancel, delete. No, I'm really not deleting the song, okay? If I delete the song, you can still hear it on your Spotify. I just want to remove it from my list. So be specific. Don't try to use the same thing for every right or wrong action. You don't have to be overly verbose. Ask later, download, update. I know what that means. I know it sounds like a robot, but I know what it means. And there's many more things in this deck. Like I said, I'm going to post this on Twitter. These are things that you can do at work tomorrow. I know there was a lot of hands that went up that you're not. Some of you aren't UX people, but you can go. The secret about UX people are, at your company, everybody is in charge of UX. From the CEO to the parking attendant. Every single person has an obligation to UX. So go take a look at your products. There's lots of good decks like this out on SlideShare, and go take a look at your products. Thank you. I don't have time for Q&A. Martha's gonna come up here, and we're gonna do a little something. We're gonna make some announcements. Cue the music. No?
Y'all can catch Chris with your questions. He's at Chris Fikes on Twitter. You can email through the STLX website.
I always answer.
Yeah, we'll get your questions. I don't mean to, we're just at time. So, we've got a few things going on. We've got some raffles. So, Laura here? Laura, trombone.
Whoop, whoop.
Come here. Okay, Laura's gonna be herself as a 1904 person, and then she's gonna be herself as an awesome STLX person. So, how do we do this?
Very good.
Okay. Alright, so this is for the...
This is for the drawing. We're giving away a 3-month UX design and UX tool workshop through a company called Optimal. And the winner is
Mary Werner.
in the house.
Alright, so this is for the brand new book that Guthrie Weinshank just wrote.
Congratulations.
So, Guthrie Weinshank, who is going to be up here talking with Susan in just a moment, he's got a brand new book out, and Melody I is the winner. Melody. We actually don't physically have the book. You're going to get it mailed to you, so we'll reach out to you. Sorry. Okay, and this is for a free, it's $95 value course by Susan Weinshank. Sorry, I'm not near the mic. Susan's really awesome. You're going to find out soon because she's about to talk. And the winner is Amy Schroeder. Is Amy here? Amy! So, Melody and Amy, we're going to give your information to the Weinshanks, and we'll make sure we get you those things. Alrighty. Is Justin Weiss? Come on up. Tech Systems also has a raffle. Alrighty. Do you have the winner? Okay.
I totally picked this one up.
This
Good
is
job,
Justin.
Justin.
Yay, Justin! Okay, Justin will be back right after before Susan even gets off the stage with the winner of the Tech Systems raffle.
Cool.
Okay, get off the stage.
Okay, I'm out.
Okay. Now we have something really important.
So,
A week or so ago,
yeah, about a week ago.
I said, Chris is killing me. I really want to do this thing, and I haven't been able to put it together, and I need your help because it's really hard for me to ask for help. People around me know this. So I did, and Chris came through big time. So I'm going to let Chris talk. He was so excited when I said that.
Okay, so let's see if I can get through this. Tell you a brief story about a gentleman that I know. In 1984, Dave Gray was in art school in Los Angeles when he began his life's passion of educating lucky, and I'm reading this, educating lucky and eager designers about the problem solving through visual design. In 1993, he founded X-Plane, and the world will never be the same. Since its incarnation, X-Plane has helped hundreds of Fortune 500 companies change the way that they think and communicate visually. Dave has written 3 books on design, innovation, and most importantly, change. Selling to the VP of No, which is one of my favorites. Game Storming, which I've used too many times. I get teased by my teams. And The Connected Company. Mike Ziegler, is it Ziegler or Ziegler? Ziegler, he spells it wrong. Call this latest book Liminal Thinking, Applied Organizational Buddhism, Design Thinking for Life. Since we resurrected STLX in 2016 with a membership of 120, Dave has donated every bit of his time. Everything we've asked him to do. He's come and spoke for free. He's run workshops. He's volunteered. He's done everything we've actually asked him to do, which is crazy for a man with a schedule like that. And that's how much he cares about our community. So now in Martha's presidency with our 1,200 members, largely due to Dave's contributions, we will every year present a Dave Gray Award to somebody in the STLX who demonstrates passion and just volunteers their time selfishly. So every year we're going to give out this Dave Gray Award. That's why we're calling it the Dave Gray Award. And this year, I'm profoundly honored to give the first ever Dave Gray Award to my mentor, friend, a man I like to hug but not stand next to. And I won't tell you why we're giving him this award because I already did. Dave Gray.
With squiggle birds.
Dave, I apologize. I haven't welded in like 2 years, so it might fall apart.
You all worked so hard. It feels really good to be appreciated. Thank you.
Alrighty. Really excited about that. So, Dave actually, he's been speaking at UX things in St. Louis at no cost, and God knows he could charge for at least 10 years. I know I sat here in this auditorium and watched him teach me how to do a thing that I'm not going to remember the name of right now because I'm standing in front of a mic. But he taught everybody in this auditorium how to do, not a persona, what you see here, what is it? Anyway. It just was amazing. Empathy map, thank you. I knew there was a word for it.
Also,
okay.
we saw our largest upswing in membership when we announced that Dave was going to speak at Nebula. It was we had like 150 people join within 3 weeks of that
That's crazy.
particular event, which was insane.
Because Dave's awesome. Okay, we have a few other awesome people, and I really hope they're here right now. Holly Schroeder, where are you? Holly, are you not in this? Come here. Al Lopez, come here. Chris Fikes, come here. Brett Miller, come here. Up here on the stage right now. Okay. These people don't know this is happening, so that's kind of fun for me.
That should be Dave's award.
I have what I call the Golden Sticky Tower Award for these 4 fine people who have been extremely helpful with STLX in general or with this conference specifically. So, Chris, Golden Sticky Award. Holly, Golden Sticky Award. And I got this idea accidentally when I was telling Holly and Al that I wanted to do an award for Dave, and they said, well, it should be a giant tower of sticky notes. Al? And I was like, wow, you just described exactly the award I'm giving you. And lastly is Brett Miller, and I'd like Brett really quickly to speak about a couple of upcoming events that he is planning for STLX, one in November and one in next year.
Thank you very much. Since I have the microphone, I'm going to tell my own Dave Gray story. I'm the reason really that I'm here involved in this at all. I first got to know Dave in the spring of 2014 when he talked at Product Camp about what became liminal thinking. And following that, we stayed in touch. He invited me to the first meetup of the Service Design Network St. Louis chapter. And that's where I met Martha and I think Chris and a lot of other people. So Dave, thank you very much for everything you've done for me and for the community as a whole. So how many, just real quick, a show of hands, how many people here is this the first STLX event that you've attended?
Nice.
All right, quite a few. So what?
Less than hate us.
So as Martha mentioned, I'm going to talk about a couple of events we have coming up. STLX is a meetup group. We have meetups every month, usually on a Thursday night. The second Thursday night is kind of standard, but not always. So the next one is in November, Thursday, November 14th. It just so happens that Thursday, November 14th is also World Usability Day. And the theme of World Usability this year is design for the future you want to see. And it ties in very well with the building and better experiences for all. Some of the stories and the talks that we've heard today. And what they're using as the theme to build on is the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Right, and so in the November meetup, we're going to take those goals, explore them a little bit, use a couple of games out of game storming, as it turns out, and put together some ideas for the future that we want to see. So for all of you first-time STLX attendees here tonight, we would love to see you at that. Details will be at stlx.org. It's going to be hosted and sponsored by 1904 Labs, so we hope to see you there. Totally free event. Just look at the website and come. All of the monthly events are free. Coming up in March, and we don't have a lot of details on this yet, but the weekend of March 20th to the 22nd is another international event called Global Service Jam. And we haven't had one in St. Louis before, and we thought it would be fun to have what is basically a hackathon for designers. So keep an eye on the website for that. We'll get more details, and that's going to be a lot of fun. Thanks a lot.
Alrighty, so without further ado, I know we're at least 10 minutes late, probably 15. We've got Susan Weinshank and Guthrie Weinshank here. I am so excited about this talk. Here they are, come on up. Let's give them a warm welcome.